Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jai Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaura. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, with the title Creation, Chapter 8, Prayers by Queen Kunti, text number 26. Janmaīśvarya-śruta-śrībhir Janmaīśvarya-śruta-śrībhir edhamāna-madaḥ pumān edhamāna-madaḥ pumān naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ vai naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ vai tvām akiñcana-gocaram tvām akiñcana-gocaram janmaiśvarya-śruta-śrībhir edhamāna-madaḥ pumān naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ vai tvām akiñcana-gocaram. Prabhus. Janmaīśvarya-śruta-śrībhir edhamāna-madaḥ pumān naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ vai tvām akiñcana-gocaram. Janmaīśvarya-śruta-śrībhir edhamāna-madaḥ pumān naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ vai tvām akiñcana-gocaram janmaiśvarya-śruta-śrībhir edhamāna-madaḥ pumān naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ vai tvām akiñcana-gocaram. Mataji, anyone would like to read? janma-śvarya-śruta-śrībhir edhamāna-madaḥ pumān naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ vai tvām akiñcana-gocaram. We'll read the word-to-word translation. Janma, birth. Aishwarya, opulence. Shruta, education. Śrībhiḥ, by the possession of beauty. Edhamāna, progressively increasing. Madaḥ, intoxication. Pumān, the human being. Na, never. Eva, ever. Arhati, deserves. Abhidhātuṁ, to address in feeling. Why, certainly. Tvām, you. Akiñcana-gocaram, one who is approached easily by the materially exhausted men. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Translation, please repeat. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Being materially advanced means taking birth in an aristocratic family and possessing great wealth and education and attractive personal beauty. All materialistic men are mad after possessing all these material opulences, and this is known as the advancement of material civilization. But the result is that by possessing all these material assets, one becomes artificially puffed up, intoxicated by such temporary possessions. Consequently, such materially puffed up persons are incapable of uttering the holy name of the Lord by addressing Him feelingly, O Govinda, O Krishna. It is said in the Shastras that by once uttering the holy name of the Lord, the sinner gets rid of a quantity of sins that he is unable to commit. Such is the power of uttering the holy name of the Lord. There is not the least exaggeration in this statement. Actually, the Lord's holy name has such powerful potency, but there is a quality to such utterances also. It depends on the quality of feeling. A helpless man can feelingly utter the holy name of the Lord, whereas a man who utters the same holy name in great material satisfaction cannot be so sincere. A materially puffed up person may utter the holy name of the Lord occasionally, but he is incapable of uttering the name in quality. Therefore, the four principles of material advancement, namely high parentage, good wealth, high education, and attractive beauty, are, so to speak, disqualifications for progress on the path of spiritual advancement. The material covering of the pure spirit soul is an external feature as much as fever is an external feature of the unhealthy body. The general process is to decrease the degree of fever and not to aggravate it by maltreatment. Sometimes it is seen that spiritually advanced persons become materially impoverished. This is no discouragement. On the other hand, such impoverishment is a good sign as much as the falling of temperature is a good sign. The principle of life should be to decrease the degree of material intoxication, which leads one to be more and more illusioned about the aim of life. Grossly illusioned persons are quite unfit for entrance into the kingdom of God. Om Ajnanatimidandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stabidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kañcana-Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu-sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langaite girim yatkripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramananda-madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Katanchana smrite yasmin dushkaram sukaram babed vismrite varitam syar Shri Chaitanya namamitam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Jayapataka Swamiti Namne Nama Acharya Padaya Nitaya Kripapadaya Gaura Gatadamdaya Nagaragamatarani. Hare Krishna. Before we commence the Bhagavatam class today, we will chant one time Hare Krishna Mahamantra for the departed soul of His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu, who is very dear to all the devotees around the world. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu ki jai, Jagat Guru Shila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. So we'll read the translation one more time. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So we are in the very beautiful set of prayers in Srimad Bhagavatam, delivered by Queen Kunti. Here she is demonstrating how a prayer could be effected, although she is in a very exalted position. So she is considering herself as very, very low and humble, and at the same time she is exhibiting the mood of prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There's a wonderful set of prayers, this section. And today in this verse we are discussing about, Srila Prabhupada is expressing in the purport about the advancement of material civilization. So what is material advancement under basically the understanding of the common men in this world? What is material advancement? So this prayer of Queen Kunti explains very clearly about this. Janma, aiśvarya-śruta-śrībhir. So everybody is focusing on any one of this or all of these four and consider that as material advancement. So janma means birth, birth in a rich aristocratic family. So that is considered as advancement. The next one is aiśvarya, wealth. People with a high level of wealth, extraordinary wealth one is possessing, then they consider that as advancement. Shruta. Shruta means education. If somebody is a qualified doctor or engineer or a scientist or a philosopher, and they are considered as very well advanced, right? And then śrībhiḥ. Śrībhiḥ means beauty. If somebody has the beauty with them, then they consider themselves as advanced. So these are the four principles based on which material advancement is defined generally in this material world. Janma, aiśvarya-śruta-śrībhir. Birth in rich aristocratic family, wealth, education, and beauty. So taking birth in rich aristocratic family is based on the piety of previous lives. Wealth, people keep on working hard to acquire more and more wealth. They want to acquire wealth somehow or the other. They do so many things, work day and night to increase their wealth. I've seen people, while I was in the Middle East, I've seen people, they leave 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning. They get up early in the morning and then travel for 2 hours from one corner of the city to another corner of the city, and then go and work hard throughout the day, and then they come back. What for? For earning little bit of money, wealth. And these are the common men. And there are rich people who are already rich. They want to increase their wealth further and further and further. They're working hard, making plans, different plans, how to increase the wealth. By hook or the crook, they want to increase their wealth. By deceiving others, or by making plans, by putting down others, and somehow or the other they want to increase their wealth. Just to show I'm the best or richest person in the whole world. They fail to understand that Krishna is the richest person. Krishna is the supreme proprietor. They fail to understand these things. Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva loka maheshwaram. Sarva loka maheshwar. Who is that? Krishna. So these people, the materialistic people, they don't understand who is the richest person. And then people are working on beauty. They have different gadgets now, different cosmetics now to beautify themselves. They think this beauty will stay forever. In that mood, they are beautifying themselves again and again and again. It's become a huge business now. Cosmetic business has become a huge business in the world. So people are focusing on these 4 basic material principles and consider themselves as advanced. All the advancement of technology are driven driven in this direction, and they consider that as advancement. So the point is, when we focus on all these 4, the basic purpose of human life, we forget about that. The basic purpose of human life is to go back home, back to Godhead. Amongst the 8.4 million species of life, only the human form of life has the opportunity to think about how we can go back home, back to Godhead after understanding that we are suffering here. So when we come to the point of understanding that we are suffering here, that's the first sign of advancement in spiritual progress. We should understand it is a place of dukkha, misery. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. This place is full of miseries and it is temporary. Even though somehow or the other we make some progress here and there, and such progress is also very temporary, ashashvatam. It is not permanent. So we are all working in this direction only. So Narad Muni explains what we should do. In the first canto, 5th chapter, Narad Muni is explaining. Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovido na labhyate yad brahmatamuparyadaha tallabhyate dukkavad anyata sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. So one should not look for things which are easily available in this 14 planetary systems, because it is very temporary. Those who are intelligent will not look for things which are temporary. But day and night we are all going behind temporary things. What is that temporary things? Wealth, education, beauty, all these things. So we should not look for those things. First we should understand that we are akiñcana. What is akiñcana? Akiñcana means we don't have nothing. We don't own anything. We don't possess anything. We came here without anything and we will leave here without anything. That is akiñcana. Nishkinchana, akiñcana. Kinchana means to possess something. Akiñcana means not to possess anything. Nishkinchana means not to possess anything. So we should understand this. So Narad Muni there explains, so what happens? So how will you get happiness? So Narad Muni is explaining there, like how you get distress without asking for. We don't ask for distress. We don't ask for distress, but distress comes searching for us. Similarly, happiness also will come searching for us. Whatever we are destined for, it will come to us. So we need not break our head, work day and night like cats and dogs to get this kind of happiness. Happiness will come, distresses also come. In yesterday's verse, Maharani Kunti was explaining, Vipada santuta shashvat tatra tatra jagat guru bhavato darshanam yatsyad apunar bhava darshanam. She is asking, please give me more difficulties. Oh my Lord, please give me more difficulty. Who is praying like that to the Lord? Please give me more difficulties. No, nobody prays like that. Here Maharani Kunti is praying, please give me more and more difficulty. Pandavas went through so much of miseries, difficulties, even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Pandavas went through so much of difficulties. The amount of difficulties the Pandavas went through, I don't think any one of us would have gone through such amount of difficulty. Draupadi's clothes were disrobed in the assembly of so many men. Nobody came to her rescue. She is a very dear devotee of Krishna. Pandava's whole wealth were grabbed in the very presence of Krishna. They were sent to the forest. They didn't have anything to do in the forest. They are Kshatriyas. They are supposed to live in the country, in the nation, in the city, to rule. But they were sent to the forest. And Krishna is watching all these things. And then they are going into all these difficulties. Maharani Kunti, when she was very young, she was left with 5 children. And nobody there to take care of her. And then she was put into such difficulties. So all these difficulties are there. So why devotees go through difficulties? So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining, this is to enhance the mood of surrender towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. So when challenges are there, difficulties are there, then it is more easy to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the essence of this verse today. Janmaīśvarya-śruta-śrībhir, edhamāna-madaḥ pumān, naivārhaty abhidhātuṁ tvām akiñcana-gocaram. When we focus more and more on material advancement, edhamāna-madaḥ, we get intoxicated. Mada means intoxication. We get intoxicated. Intoxicated by what? When somebody is getting intoxicated, they don't know what is reality. That's what intoxication does to us. That's why this is one of the regulative principles, that we should not get intoxicated. No intoxication. Because it makes us not understand what reality is. We are talking about education. The so-called education of today's world draws us away from Krishna consciousness, draws us away from the real goal of life. The real knowledge is withdrawn, knowledge stolen away by illusion. What is that? Knowledge stolen away by illusion. Mayaya apahrita jnana. Apahrita. The illusion removes all the knowledge from us, covers us. This is what today's education does to us. People don't understand what is the reality of human life. We are working hard day and night. So people cannot understand this basic principle of human life. So that's why it is mentioned here, these things are obstacles, disqualifications on the path of spiritual progress. So we should try to avoid. The great kings in the past, they all left their kingdom. They left their aiśvarya. They left all the beautiful arrangements they had. They left their power, position, everything. And they are going after the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They have set a good example for all of us to follow. They have set a very good example for all of us to follow. When one starts worshipping Krishna, the first thing Krishna does is to remove things from us. He removes things from us. Because they are all obstacles on the path of spiritual progress. So people think, oh, devotees are poverty stricken. No, actually we have the real wealth of going back to Krishna. So here Srila Prabhupada is explaining what is the consequence, what happens when we have these principles of material advancement. In his purport is explaining. So what happens when we have a high education, huge amount of wealth, very beautiful features, what happens to us? What happens, the consequence is we get puffed up. When we get puffed up, we get intoxicated. When we get puffed up and intoxicated, we fail to utter the holy name of the Lord, feeling. We fail to do that. Prabhupada mentions here, when we chant the holy name of the Lord, that holy name has the capability, has the potency to remove all the sins that we are able to commit. All the sins that we are able to commit. So much of potency is there in the holy name. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains in a Sikshashtakam prayer, second verse, Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kalaha etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrishamiha janinanuragaha. Nam namakari bahuda nija sarva shaktis. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has invested all his energies into this holy names, into his holy names. He has invested everything, all potencies, all the powers, everything is there built into this holy names. But unfortunately, we are not able to utter that with feeling, with affection, with attachment to the holy names. We are not able to do that because of our attachment towards all the materialistic things. So Prabhupada gives a beautiful example in the purport about the fever. Reduction of fever basically is a sign of improvement of our health. So similarly, if the material things are going away from us during the course of our practice of devotional service, that means we are slowly advancing in devotional service. Because when we have to go back to God, and we need to be 100% pure. All the filtering process take place before that. We need to be 100% pure in order to reach there. You cannot find an impure person there. We have to be 100% pure if we have to go from here to there. If we have to enter sun planet, we should have all the properties of the sun, fire, in order to enter into the sun planet. Otherwise, we cannot go there. So similarly, if we have to enter into the spiritual world which is 100% pure, then we should become 100% pure. How to become 100% pure? All these instructions are given clearly in Srimad Bhagavatam. How can we become 100% pure? Tasmad bharata sarvatma bhagavan ishvaro harihi shrotavya kirtitavyascha smartsavyasche chathabhayam. How do we do this? By three processes. What are the three processes? Shrotavya, hearing about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pastimes and his instructions. Kirtitavyascha, glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then smartavya, remembering. So when we have to hear and then glorify and then remember, then we get purified, then we can go back to God. So beautiful, all questions and answers are already asked and answered. We don't need to invent anything new. We just have to follow that. We all just need to follow what is being already asked. Parikshit Maharaj, Arjuna are two exalted, intelligent, most intelligent personalities, devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. They asked all the questions on our behalf. Whatever questions we may have now, all are asked and it is answered already. We just have to follow that. The same questions are already there. We just follow the answers and then practice in our day-to-day life. So the point here is we have to understand what is permanent. So we have to go behind the permanent, not the temporary things. But unfortunately, many human beings in this material world or after the temporary things, it's mainly because of ignorance. Avidya is the root cause of all sins. As long as we are in avidya, we are bound to go in the wrong path only. So that is why we need association of devotees. Even when we are in the devotional service, there is a possibility of all of us going in different directions. So one should be very careful. One should be very careful that we are always in the association of nice devotees around. So that even if we go a little bit stray here and there, then we are pulled back into devotional service. So this is very important for us. Right? This is very, very important for us. we remain in the association of devotees and follow in the footsteps of the acharyas, not do anything whimsically by our own mental speculation. These instructions are very clearly given in books like Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instructions. All these things are very clearly given. What we should do, what we should not do. Atyahara, prayasascha, prajalpo, niyamagraha. All these things are given in Nectar of Instruction. Right? So we just have to follow these things. But following is also very difficult. When you have to follow things on our own, it's very difficult. That's why we should have the guide. We should have the devotees with us. Then we can practically implement what is mentioned in the scriptures, what is recommended by the acharyas. That is why we should have the association of devotees. Otherwise, when we start thinking, when we start thinking that we can do by my own endeavor, then it's going to be very, very difficult. Very difficult. The point here is, when we are in the association of devotees, and I'm sure all of us have the experience. I don't think anyone here or can claim, yes, I came by my own endeavor. Yes, I am very strong. No, not possible. Everybody is being helped by someone or the other. The moment we think that we can do everything by my own strength, then that's the fall down for us. That's the fall down for us. So Prabhupada always insists that we should always do devotional service in the association of devotees. Otherwise, we always have the tendency to go here and there. So this verse is a very important guideline for all the grihasthas. For example, one section of the community, grihasthas, when they are guiding their children, they should guide their children to advance in devotional service. That should be the prime goal for their children. They should mold their family in such a way that give such an atmosphere that devotional education is provided. Otherwise, education is useless. If there is no devotional service, education is useless. Such education is garbage. It creates more trouble to the society. So if you want to give education should be Krishna conscious. Education should be there. The topmost education is, as Prabhupada mentions, is that one should understand that we are not this body but spirit, soul. This is the topmost education. And Krishna says topmost knowledge is Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavagavam Dharmam Susukam Kartum Abhyavam. To know about Krishna. To know about Krishna is the topmost knowledge. All the other knowledge are secondary. They're all subsidiary languages. Topmost education, topmost knowledge is to know about Krishna, to know about who we are, whether we are body or spirit, soul, and to understand that we are eternal servants of Krishna. And what is the process? We have to render service to Krishna. So this is the topmost knowledge. This is the path that is paved for us as practicing devotees. If this knowledge is not there, then what's the use of all the other knowledge, which is anyway temporary in nature? That knowledge which do not glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the source of everything, that knowledge is useless. We may create so many things, but if we do not appreciate the provider of the ingredient is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we are thieves. We are thieves because we don't recognize who is the supreme provider. So what is the use of such wealth, such knowledge, such beauty and all these things if that fails to recognize the supreme person behind all these things? So it is very important for us to understand that all these things are good provided if it is used in the service of Krishna. The Goswamis, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they renounced everything. They are such a Such rich people. They were working, serving in the assembly of a king. They had huge amount of wealth, but they renounced everything because they wanted to serve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whereas we have another personality, Sri Ramananda Rai, who was a very wealthy person, but he engaged all this wealth in the service of Krishna. So wealth is not detrimental in the path of devotional service. Please don't mistake this verse. Wealth is not detrimental. Education is not detrimental. These things becomes detrimental. This thing becomes a disqualification if it is not used in the service of Krishna. That's the point. So one should not think, oh, okay, let me not earn any money, or let me not do this, that. No, you can do. You do that for the service of Krishna, for pleasing Krishna, for pleasing the Vaishnavas. There are many devotees in our society who are very rich, who are very well educated, and they are using all their wealth, education in the service of Krishna and Vaishnavas. So that's the purpose of all these things. Utility is the principle. Utility is the principle. So we have to use in the service of Krishna. That's the bottom line. Without using in the service of Krishna, it becomes a detriment. It becomes a stumbling block in the advancement of devotional service. That's the point. That's the point. If somebody comes and gives $100 million, oh no. This is not going to help me in Krishna consciousness. No, I will not accept it. No, you should accept it. Accept it and use it for Krishna's service. That's good. When it is used in Krishna's service, then it is a strength. If it is not used in the service of Krishna, then it's a burden on us. So this is the point. The point is, anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjina. Accept everything that is favorable for devotional service. Reject everything that is not favorable for devotional service. This is the principle. We should accept everything. Our movement is not about rejection. We should understand this clearly. Our movement is not about rejecting things. Rejecting things is followed by somebody else. Naiti. No, ours is not about naiti. Our movement is about accepting everything and use it in the service of Krishna. So how we can come out of our material attachments? So that's what we should think. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktir anyatra chaisa trika eka kala prapadyamanasya yatasnatasyu tushti pushti kshudapayo nagasam. How we can get detachment from these material attachments? It's possible only by having more attachment towards Krishna. So when we surrender into the Supreme Personality of Godhead at His lotus feet, three things happen simultaneously according to this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto. Bhakti, para, isha, anubhava and virakti. Bhakti, devotional service. Para, isha, anubhava means direct association, realization about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and virakti, detachment. So it's like a person who's very hungry is coming, and if you have to remove his hunger, what we should do? We should give him food to eat. So when he eats every morsel of food, every morsel of grain, three things happen simultaneously. The first is he gets satisfaction, and then he gets nourishment, healthy, he becomes healthy, and then what goes away? His hunger moves away. If you have to remove hunger, the only way is to eat food. If you want to get detached, the only way is to attach to Krishna. So this is the principle. All the other things are all useless. We can do so many exercises. Oh, I want to control my senses, this, that. All these things are useless unless we attach ourselves to Krishna. Unless we attach to Krishna, detachment do not take place. Whatever detachment takes place is all just superfluous. It's a surface level detachment. It's not coming from the root. If you have to remove the attachment from the root, attachment to material things from the root, we have to attach with Krishna and His devotees. Otherwise, detachment do not take place at all. So here Maharani Kunti is making it very, very clear that one should engage in the service of Krishna. One should get rid of all this material, progressive material advancement, edhamāna-madaḥ pumān, which makes us intoxicated in material absorption. So these are all disqualification if it is not engaged in the service of Krishna. So that's the point. So unless one focuses on these things, it is very difficult, very, very difficult. Because that's exactly what is happening. The entire world, material world, is going towards this. Acquiring wealth, acquiring beauty, getting more and more beauty, showing that we are very, very beautiful. All these things. Why we want more wealth? Why we want extraordinary beauty? All these things. This is basically for sense enjoyment. Of course, that's the purpose for which we all have come here. Because we wanted to enjoy our senses away from Krishna. And Krishna has provided all the facilities for us. He is so merciful. Krishna is very, very merciful. We want to enjoy our senses. He created a separate place for us, for our enjoyment. This material world is that place. He has created that place. But He also provided, this place is not, you cannot enjoy permanently here. So He has put certain blocks for us here and there. So when we go through that, we get into some difficulties, we suffer, and then we get frustrated sometimes. What is this? And then slowly we come to the point of realization. When the same thing happens to the devotees, then sometimes we get perplexed. Why devotees are suffering? Why this person is suffering? Why that person is suffering? He is such a nice devotee. So the different purposes for which Krishna puts His devotees into difficulties. One is to make that particular devotee understand and make him realize and giving more opportunity to worshipping more feelingly. Another reason is to set an example for everybody else to follow. Like the Pandavas went through so many difficulties. So everybody can understand. If Pandavas can go through difficulties, okay, I can also go through difficulty. Provided we surrender to Krishna. So in the service of Krishna, we can undergo any kind of difficulty. So that should be our mood. In order to establish that, sometimes devotees are put into difficulties. There are so many examples in the history of Bhagavatam, history of our scriptures, where wonderful, great devotees, they are all going through difficulties. Not only difficulties. So sometimes we think education is required for advancement in devotional service. No, education is not required for advance, because bhakti is costless. Bhakti is costless. There is no need. Bhakti is not dependent on anything. Bhakti is not dependent on wealth. Bhakti is not dependent on high level of education, anything. Bhakti is independent. It's costless. Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, he is an illiterate, but he is exalted Vaishnava, Acharya. He had a disciple, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He is a very extraordinarily educated personality. He became disciple of Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who was not educated at all. So education is not a criteria for advancement in bhakti. Wealth is not a criteria for advancement in bhakti. Beauty is not a criteria for advancement in bhakti. Taking birth in a rich aristocratic family is not a criteria for advancement in bhakti. Bhakti can be performed under any circumstances. When bhakti is performed, we should perform bhakti without attachment. That is pure devotional service. Our motive of bhakti should be to please Krishna favorably. That is pure devotional service. That is the definition of pure devotional service according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadhi anavritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhakti uttama. Uttama bhakti is that which is done only and only for the purpose of pleasing Krishna favorably, without any other tinge of karma, jnana, yoga and other things. That is pure devotional service. So if you are able to do that, then whether we have wealth or beauty or coming from rich aristocratic family or not, high education or not, doesn't matter. Whether we have it or we don't have it doesn't matter at all. But when we have it, if we do not use in Krishna's service, that becomes a stumbling block. That's the crux of this today's verse. So whatever we have, we should engage in the service of Krishna. If we are able to do that, then that becomes a favorable situation for us. If we don't do that, the very same thing can become a stumbling block for us. So that's the point. Hare Krishna. If you have any comments or questions, you can share here.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for a nice class. So these four classes of people who have high beauty, lot of wealth, many material qualifications. Queen Kunti is saying that it is very difficult for these people to approach the Lord in a proper mood. But you mentioned we have to engage whatever we have, so then it's the purpose becomes useful. So but my question is are they able to do this properly, like because definitely they will have challenges, because there is little puffed up nature that comes along with a lot of material opulences. So and we have people from these backgrounds that we preach to as well. So how to help them to overcome these disqualifications so they can actually take to the process properly?
Thank you for your nice question, Prabhu. Yeah, that is the whole purpose of Srila Prabhupada creating this society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, to engage, to provide an opportunity for everyone to participate in devotional service somehow or the other. So as followers of Srila Prabhupada, we all have a great responsibility to ensure that we facilitate such opportunities. So when we go to, for example, a rich person is there, when we go to a rich person asking for money, it should be understood that we are not begging for money. We are basically, when sannyasis go, in olden days, the sannyasis, they travel door to door and then seek for some alms, right? So when they go door to door seeking for alms, some people give some rice, some people give something or the other, and whatever the amount of things they give from their house, that becomes a sukruti for the family which gives. So by creating such sukruti, by rendering service to the Vaishnava or the temple or anything like that, when we create such opportunities for people to get more and more sukruti, in due course of time they take up the path of devotional service. So our duty is to create such sukrutis, right? So our as practicing devotees, as followers of Srila Prabhupada, ours is a preaching movement. We should go and preach out and out, create facilities. That's what Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas and all the present senior Vaishnava devotees are all engaged in, and all of us are also trying to practice those things, is to facilitate opportunities, right? by sharing their wealth or sharing their knowledge, what they have gained. In so many different ways, those things should be engaged. Such facilities should be created to engage in the service of Krishna. So that's, or for building a temple and things like that. So that way, all these things are their attachment, they create that sukruti, and by that process they come to the path of devotional service. It's a gradual process. It just doesn't happen just by a switch of a button, something changes. It's a gradual process, so it happens in due course of time. So ours is a very personal moment. So if we are cultivating somebody, then we have to go and spend time with them and then see how things can be changed in their life, be part of their life, and then slowly and steadily bring them up in their consciousness and then help them to advance in devotional service. So by keeping personal touch with them, personal attention to them, by giving personal attention to them, and by helping them in this way, one can slowly bring them up. That's this thing. Yeah, Prabhu?
Prabhu, I have a small request.
Sure.
In the memory of passing away of His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu, can we observe a minute of silence in honor of His Grace?
Generally, in our movement, we chant the holy names to glorify a Vaishnava. We did in the beginning. We can do that one more time by chanting the holy names of the Lord. So chanting the holy names is the best process recommended for all the purposes. It's mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, etan nirvidyamananam icchatāma-kuto bhayam yoginam nripa nirnitam harer namānu-kirtanam. In the second canto it is mentioned that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the one-stop process by which everything can be fulfilled. So I would recommend to chant instead of remaining silent. So we can chant one more time Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, that's good. I meant like a moment in prayer, because we do this on Prabhupada's disappearance day. We observe a 1 minute silence. But
sure, thank you.
You can chant.
If anybody has any other questions or comments, we'll take that, and after that we'll do this. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. I can't find the quotation, but I remember somewhere in the Bhagavatam it says, I think it's 7th canto, it talks about how one should not be too materially improvised. In other words, to practice Krishna consciousness, if one is too much materially improvised, it will be like a disturbance to their practice. Could you comment on that?
Yeah, it's mentioned here also. Edhamāna-madaḥ pumān. Edhamāna-madaḥ pumān means progressively intoxicated. Materially intoxication. That's what this verse is also mentioned. And if you go to the 5th canto, where Rishabh is instructing to his 100 sons, there also these terminologies are used, where one becomes more materially impoverished than it is becoming a stumbling block for us. So material things are always not favorable for devotional service. That's not our nature. The point is, material advancement will not help us to achieve the goal of human life. The goal of human life is to go back home, back to Godhead. That's the goal of human life. If one is clear about the goal of human life, one will not make extraordinary endeavor to advance in material civilization. So if we are very clear about the goal, if we, for example, if you want to travel to, say for example, New York. If you want to travel to New York from Mayapur, then we should, first of all, we should be clear where we want to travel. That is New York. Then we have to see how to reach New York. So we have to go from Mayapur to Calcutta airport. From Calcutta, probably if there is no direct flight, then we have to go to Delhi, and from Delhi you have to catch a flight and go to New York. So this is the process. And what are the things required for that? What are the things required for that is we should have little bit of money to buy the tickets, or we should look for somebody who can help us, and we should have the passport, we should have the visa. These are the requirements to go to New York. So these are simple things to go to New York. But if we make an endeavor, then it becomes too difficult to do these things. But if that is a simple process, we can reach New York. That's not a problem. But when we see people, how people are going to New York, oh, they wear a nice blazer, they wear a suit, and they have nice shoes, then we should have a nice watch. What will people think about me when I'm going to New York in a dirty cloth like this? Then we try to acquire more. And then when we get down in New York, oh, I need a beautiful car to go, then I have to acquire more and more wealth. So these are unnecessary additions to our objective of going to New York. So this is one side. And then as human beings, we have to go back to Krishna. So what is required for going back to Krishna? We need a guide, spiritual master. And the spiritual master tells us certain mechanisms how to go back to Krishna. That is, chant the holy names of the Lord, follow 4 regulatory principles, be in the association of devotees, read Bhagavatam every day, live in a holy dham. These are the 5 potent processes by which one can go back to Godhead very easily as per nectar of devotion. So we just have to follow that, and then we go back there. And in that process, we may require some basic maintenance to maintain this body and soul together. Then we do that, acquire only, spend our energy to that extent, and then we can focus more and more time on the other aspects of going back to God. So when we focus more on material acquirements, material intoxication, then that becomes a problem. Then becomes the, there is a story. One Brahman was in the forest. He was trying to focus on his devotional service. And then the Brahman was constantly disturbed by a rat. So he was disturbed. Oh, what is this rat doing? Let me get a cat to take care of this rat. So he brought one cat. And then when the cat came, rat went away. Obviously, rat is afraid of cats. Rat went away. The cat was there. And the cat need to be fed. So he needs milk for that. So he said he'll get one cow. So he got one cow. And then the cat was satisfied. And then cow should be taken care of. So he's spending more time on the cow. And then he said, okay, we should get somebody. Oh, let me get married, then I can get a cow. So he got married. And then cow was taken care. And then marriage means then the children came. And the children came. And then children should be taken care. So the amount of time that was spent on the very purpose for which he started coming to the forest and practice is totally taken away. So the point is, we should follow Prabhupada's guidelines, simple living and high thinking. So we should reduce as much as possible whatever is required. We should focus only on what is required, and all the other baggages we should just remove then and there. Otherwise it becomes a baggage, luggage. Why it's called luggage? It's a burden. We cannot carry ourselves properly. Then we need help. And then for that help, we have to maintain that help also. So all these things becomes a huge burden on us. So in our path of devotional service, too much of material progress becomes a burden. That's why it is said that we should be very clear on our goal. We should be clear that yes, I want to go back to Krishna, so I have to do these things. I have to give up these things. So when we are clear, then it becomes very easy. So that doesn't mean if we have some talent and we can use in service of Krishna, we don't use it. No, we have to use everything in the service of Krishna. So whatever is possible, we should use. How we should use is, that's why we have to approach a spiritual master who will guide us what we need to do, how we need to do, which will help us in the path of our going back to Godhead. So that's the point. The moment we get bogged down by other things, then it becomes very difficult for us to come out of that. So that's the basic point. Thank you. Hare Krishna. You have a question? Already taken care? Thank you. So we will pray one more time. We did in the beginning of the class today. We'll pray one more time. For the departed soul, and also for our own benefit. When we pray for Vaishnava, we get purified. So we'll pray one more time by chanting with feeling, as mentioned in this verse. With feelingly, we'll chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, sincerely praying for the departed soul. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. His Grace Pankajangri Prabhu ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraj ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.